2020. That was on 26th of November 2020. And at that time, she talked about mental health and relationship. That topic has so much deep into young people that when we have requested her, I put out a suggestion, say, you guys, what topics do you want? And the one which took a lot of popularity was the same that she did present. But this time, a lot of young people were thinking that our churches don't understand what mental health issues can develop due to maybe poor communication in the home or some problems that can affect young people mentally. So they suggested the same topic. So who is this lady, Ruth, that is always ready to help us? She's very qualified. Ruth, other than what I'm going to read about her, we worked together in Kenya at one point. Right now she's in Uganda. We worked together in the same school some years ago when she has just finished university in Nairobi. So we were teaching in the same Segero Secondary School, SD Secondary School, and we worked together. But now coming to the Ruth, who was then and the Ruth now is, she's a counseling psychologist. She's a director, Healing Talk Counseling Services. Director, Healing Talk Counseling Services, which are very known worldwide, where she, especially in Uganda, in Kampala, Uganda. She's a consultant with a vast experience in family, child and trauma-related issues, and has worked internationally as a staff resilience counselor for organizations. She's dedicated to service for Jesus. Ruth loves to work with young adults, children, and families. She's a member of Mount Olive SDA Church in Kampala. Her life motto is to be a blessing to all she meets. Ruth is married with by the Matoya. Many of us who have been in Uganda know him, and they have 3 children. They have Elvis, they have Jewel, and they have Diamond. So 2 boys and a girl. Ruth, this is your time. Please come among the work that you love, the youth that you love. We have also some adults, families, parents who need to hear the conversation we are going to have today. So may God bless you as you join us in this presentation.
Amen. Amen, Elder. Thank you for that very nice introduction about me. I love working with you. Mr. Sentenga is a teenager at heart, even despite the fact that he looks like he's older now, but he is being called to a ministry to serve families and young people. I want to thank you for remembering to think about mental health, because that is a subject very close to my heart. Today, we are talking about mental health in general and mental health in the church, and how you can deal with some of the areas of mental health that are coming up within the church. So at the end of the presentation, I would like us to have good reactions, to have contributions on how this subject of mental health can be used to help our church members stay stable as they make their decisions. I noticed that the sharing of the screen is disabled, but if we don't need it, then I'm going to speak off my screen.
It is, Elder, sister, I think I gave you, maybe you disconnected and connected again.
Yes,
I had thought I had given you, because I knew you were going to share.
Okay.
You should be able to share now.
The host, participants. Okay, you disabled it. Okay.
No, you try now.
Okay, let me try. All right, thank you. It's coming on. All right, so I want to talk about mental health as it comes, as it comes with us. When we talk mental health, people think about the nearest, I think they talk about the nearest mental health hospital where people are looking zombie-like because they are in medication. Some are drooling, others are not looking happy, others are violent. But I want to start by saying that people dealing with threats to mental health exhibit the following: a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger, sometimes which is displaced, you don't know where it's coming from. People dealing with mental health challenges sometimes deal with addictions, and days are gone when I can say that the addictions used to be for other people who are not Adventists, but now we have a lot of addiction. And do not just think about pornography and drinking and other things, but there is a lot of addiction even to exercise, addiction even to social media. There is a lot of addiction coming up. Fanaticism, when you are dealing with mental health challenges or threats, you deal with fanaticism when you cannot welcome any other people's thoughts or way of looking at life, and you are rigid in one way or the other. Binge drinking, alcoholism, illicit sex of all types, job loss, okay? Inability to sustain jobs and other relationships, not just jobs, but even other relationships. Lifestyle, they exhibit a lifestyle that is living beyond means. Sometimes even living under means can be an indicator of a mental health challenge. Poor decision making. There are people that cannot make very good decisions. Broken, abusive, stagnant relationships. So they are usually in it, or they are the perpetrators of these things. Also, you see parent-child conflict, a lot of it. That means that their mental health is threatened in one way or another. Then they may exhibit some loneliness, some depression, self-isolation, low esteem, shame, timidity, I would call it that. So when you look at that big list that we are talking about, what do you see? You see one or two or three people in your circles. Maybe even you yourself could be part and parcel of this challenge to mental health. Okay, so let's then define what mental health is. And I wanted to give a very broad explanation of what mental health is, but I would say this, that for you to be mentally healthy, or mental health has the following components. It has physical, mental, spiritual, and social well-being of any other human beings, which allows you to treat yourselves and to treat others, okay? To treat yourselves with the same patience and compassion that we could our pets, our property, and our babies. You know how we treat ourselves, we treat people. We even treat our animals sometimes better than we treat ourselves. So if you have that well-being where you are able to take the way you treat a pet or a baby or your property and treat yourself that way, or treat other people that way, then your mental health is stable. But if you don't have that well-being where you can treat yourself very well, then your mental health has been compromised. So it is not about running mad or running naked or speaking uncoordinated things. No, you can appear very, very healthy, but your mental health is compromised. So it also, this mental health is affected by the community within which you are living. It can be affected by, can be affected by your sexuality, your gender, okay? Sometimes even your gender is predisposes you to good mental health or bad mental health. It can also be affected by whether you are taking substances or not, okay? And many other things, even the environment where you live, the community where you live, the work that you do. So there are very many things that affect your mental health. Then the mental health professionals, because sometimes there's a confusion about who is a mental health professional. Mental health professionals are medical health practitioners, especially those that we deal with the psychiatric units. There are some researchers that are mental health practitioners, psychologists, clinical, especially the clinical and the counseling psychologists are very good practitioners, or they are the professionals that deal with mental health issues, and social workers. So these people are trained and equipped with a lot of knowledge around mental health issues. Yeah. So what consists of a healthy healthy mind, or a mental health situation? What consists of that? I will say that there are many things that consists of that. One of them is that when you are having a mentally healthy mind, you keep a grip on fear. You know what it is and what it is not. If you are not mentally healthy, your fear tends to take over who you are, and you get confused over what it is and what it is not. And sometimes you don't know what it is not. Yesterday, I talked to somebody that comes from Europe, and the talk right now is Russia's attack on Ukraine. And this person wanted to move to a safer space. Why? Because the world war has come. The world is coming to an end. I can't sleep anymore. I am not safe. But there are very many countries away from Ukraine. So, I was talking to them and asking, so what is your situation right now? No. And then power went off, and they said, you see, now even power has gone off. But I think it was a short circuit or something in their house. So people are so scared. Fear is gripping them before they even hear the first gunshot. And they are living very many countries away from where Ukraine is. So this person's mental health is actually compromised. And therefore, I asked them to go see the pastor or someone that who can reassure them. So whenever your mental health is compromised, your mind is not healthy, because you cannot manage the component of fear. Another, when a person is having an unhealthy mind, is that they can't compartmentalize issues. But a healthy mind compartmentalizes issues. That's why they are able to bring out the right thoughts at the right moment in the right environment. People that are not mentally healthy say anything, anywhere, in the presence of anybody. You know, you've had people saying, you know, when children are young, their mental or their minds have not yet been let's say they have not yet grown, they have not yet matured. So they will say anything at any time, and you have to shut their mouths and send them away and all that. But a healthy mind, which is of a mature person, they will know which issue can be said where and with who. So a healthy mind compartmentalizes issues, knows what to say, when and how and with who. In the same voice, a healthy mind has mastered the art of censorship, whereby not everything felt has to be practiced or satisfied. Now, let's imagine that maybe you feel hungry and it is in the middle of the divine service, and you really want to eat. It is a healthy mind will say, wait a minute, I can wait for another 30 minutes. But an unhealthy mind will quickly pull out the food and begin eating even when nobody else is eating. And they will say, I don't care, it is me who is hungry. And everybody else will say, oh, you eat. It's only children whose minds haven't grown enough who will cry to be breastfed at any minute. But a man or a woman that is healthy, or an adolescent that is healthy, does not eat anyhow because they feel hungry. So I hope you are with me there, that people with healthy minds will master and censor things in their life. Okay. Another component of a healthy mind is that healthy minds know how to cope, how to hope. Their mind remembers to appreciate and to cling to what is possible and kind. Okay, so even when you are very discouraged, but you have a healthy mind, you will hang on to hope and what is possible. When your mind is unhealthy, a lot of things happen. You sometimes fear you fear to continue. You will think about getting off life because your mind is compromised. It is unhealthy. So people that have got healthy minds probably will not think about giving up. They will start calling upon what hope is. They look forward to a better day than today. They don't say, this is it, this is the end, I am done. You know, they keep hoping until they know that, you know what, this is not it, let me have another alternative. Also, healthy minds know how to detect and bracket negativity, okay? They know how to endure and to celebrate positivity. When people are unhealthy in their minds, they embrace a lot of negativity. They will always see the possible bad, the worst picture, the worst case scenario in many ways. And they don't know how to endure and wait for a time when there will be some amount of positivity. But a healthy mind will see the silver lining behind the dark cloud and hope for it. So whenever people are not having healthy minds, they look at the worst case scenario and it takes them lower and lower and lower until they are not able to manage themselves. A healthy mind refuses to act on the sensible arguments in favor of rage and despondency. I want to say this: we can get very angry because people have hurt us, and we will want to teach them a lesson. We will want to fight back, tell them what is in our head at that time, scream, some people undress, you know. That is the sensible thing to do when somebody has hurt you. That is the sensible thing to show that actually I am angry. You've seen people breaking cups, you've seen people hurting others, even burning things because they are feeling terrible in their life. But when your mind is healthy, you don't listen to those sensible arguments. At that time, they are sensible, in quotes. And you can say, well, I was angry, that's why I did it. But when you have a very healthy mind, you hold yourself, you hold your guns, and eventually you appear more mature than those who throw around their ability to shout and to exhibit how angry they are. it's not just anger, many other things. A healthy mind is able to resist the pull of unfair comparisons that torture us due to inadequacies that we have no control over. Our body, things like our body shape, our skin color, where we come from, okay? You know, some people will not like themselves because there is something that is not the same as other people. For example, if God gave you a bigger foot than the normal people, your shoe has to be ordered from the factory. You cannot walk into a main shop and buy a shoe as any other normal person. There are people that can use that against themselves. They will not go in public because they think everyone is looking at their big leg. And you know, and some people will say, oh, I don't even remember where my village is, because it is associated maybe with very unpleasant things like poverty, like maybe some criminal activity around that place. You know, you are ashamed of where you come from. Now, that is, whenever you have that, it means that your mental health has been compromised. But a healthy mind normally has the ability to resist, and once it resists, it's possible for you to move on with life normally. When you can't resist those things that you can't control, your life becomes very restrictive. There are things you can't do because you are too conscious of what is happening around you. Also, there are a healthy mind allows us to talk to ourselves as we could to a friend. You know, a healthy mind will tell you when you are wrong, and it will tell you when you are right. And it will tell you, you know what, keep quiet. Because whenever you have a good friend, you are able to call them out when they are doing something wrong, and you are able to also congratulate them when something is good. You are able to inform them things. But when we have an healthy mindset, we take one picture and we allow it to compromise us in all things. But when you have a healthy mind, you can actually self-cancel and say, wait a minute, but Ruth, look here. You are the one that was late. You are the one that did this. And now this is what you can do to salvage what is happening. In the case of young people, let's say you have gone to college and you have not been able to hand in your assignment on time. And you want to blame the lecturer, you want to blame the technology, but there is a way you can have a middle ground and discuss it with yourself and say, you know what? I was wrong, I was late, I didn't start on time. Therefore, let me accept it and start this assignment over again. I am not going to pass because it was also part of me that allowed me to do what? To fail this paper. So that healthy mind helps you not to break and become totally unhealthy, because you have that healthy mind. In the converse way, whenever you don't have a healthy mind, you will not be able to do what I have just said. Now, I want to say, when you have an unhealthy mind, you will manifest it in different ways. There are people that have panic attacks. Panic attacks are those times when the fear of things happening takes over rather than what is the reality on the ground. It is when your brain misjudges the dangers around us. Most of the time, the things we fear never come to pass. Actually, 95% of the time, the biggest fears we fear never come to pass. But if you have poor mental health, compromised mental health. You have panic attacks, you have anxiety all the time. Anxiety means that you are not able to trust the future, and it takes over. And because of that, you cannot even trust yourself to face that future. We show a lot of depression when we have compromised mental health. Sometimes we have bipolar, sometimes we have low esteem, we have loneliness, fatigue, okay? Insomnia. Insomnia is when you can't sleep. Sometimes you are so lonely. You might be in a crowd and you find yourself still alone. Most of the time I am counseling young people, and because their mental health has been so compromised by things I'm going to discuss later, they tell you that, you know, I can be with my friends, I am laughing, I look happy, but deep down I am really, really lonely. It's like I'm relating at two levels: the level where I make my friends know me, and the level where I know I am totally alone and no one can get to me. Some people have this fatigue, tiredness. They are waking up, they're tired. They're sleeping, they're tired. They are working, they are tired. Most of the time, it's because our mental health has been compromised. When we can't sleep, due to so many reasons, it could be because we are overworking. It could be because we are using mental health. It could be that we are processing a lot of issues that have taken place in your life, and you just lay down and there's no sleep coming. It could be even the fact that you are transiting in life from maybe childhood to adolescence, maybe from being an adolescent to a college person, or maybe you're getting married, a new baby has come into your life. All those are things that show that actually you are not sleeping and your mental health is not at its peak. It's not very good. When you have poor mental health, you have explosive anger, you just need a small trigger and everything gets blood in your life. You want to break, you want to hurt, you want to hit. Then you have suicidal ideations. You begin to think about, if I actually died, I think things would be better. Then you begin to think about which way could I die best, you know, and you even if you don't Google it, you want to ask a few questions here and there, and you listen, hey, you mean that thing kills very fast? And you are looking for ways of quitting or exiting this world in a better way than and you think that there's going to be peace wherever you are going. Some people are very aggressive. Have you seen people that are aggressive? If you are riding a bus, they can't wait their time. You know, they want to jump in. If you are queuing for something, they would look for ways of cutting the line so that they can be there. You know, all those things. And people think it's normal, but it's because they have compromised mental health. That's why they cannot see that the person on the queue is actually also waiting, and they think it's them. It's them that need the services first. Then we have things like grandiosity. You think too big, beyond what you can. You know, you make the biggest friends who you don't add value to and who don't add value to you. You know, that is grandiosity, thinking big, too big for you, instead of accepting where you are and working your way into the big picture. Sometimes you manifest poor mental health when you have consistent choice of wrong friends, partners, and trauma bonding. When I talk about consistently choosing wrong friends, it means that your ability to make decisions has been compromised. Your ability to see beyond the obvious has been compromised. This normally happens especially when you have had a lot of adverse childhood experiences. and you are hanging on to anybody that can give you some sense of stability, anybody that can show you that they care. But you know, people who want to throw care and stability at you normally also have their own compromised mental health. And so in a matter of days, you find that you have issues with yourself. Then there are people that consistently choose special relationship partners that are wrong, because again, your adverse childhood experiences have predisposed you to looking for a certain type of people who you can bond with. You know, you think maybe you want a strong man, maybe you want a person who has money because you lived in poverty, and you go for money and you forget, you know, things like that. That is what I call a consistent choice of friends and all that. But there is what we call trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is when you stay with somebody, okay, despite the fact that they are hurting you. It doesn't have to be a marriage partner, but it can be even your own classmate. It can be even a relative who you stay with because you have no choice. And you think that you actually don't have a choice, but you really do. And it's sometimes because of what you are benefiting from that person. So you would rather suffer, but benefit from that person. And I hear very many young people saying, you know what, here in Uganda, we have a lot of border borders. I would rather cry in a Mercedes Benz than laugh on a border, you know? So they have what we call a lot of trauma bonding. Then compromised mental health can also be seen through stress, okay? People who are consistently stressed, they are always in a mode of flight or fight, you know, or just get frozen in where they are. And then we have OCD. OCD is a compromised mental health situation whereby you want to either do things repeatedly to perfection, or you don't think that other people can do anything better than you. So you are holding on to and trying to perfect everything as well as you can. It is a disorder, meaning that your mind has been predisposed to do that, but it can be triggered to be full blown whenever your mental health has been compromised. Then you have the flu. People really get flu every now and then, meaning that their health is compromised. But health can be compromised because you have poor mental health. You have migraines. Whenever there's something disturbing, your head is really aching. And granted, you may have a medical issue, but many medical issues are triggered because there is compromised mental health. Then there is poor academic performance. I'm talking to young people who are trying to do a lot of schoolwork, but you can find a person that used to excel all of a sudden has begun to be very poor in the way they are doing their work in school performance. Maybe their concentration level, their study habits have started going down because there's a lot of other things going around. Maybe there's a relationship breaking, maybe there's an illness in the family, or the parents are fighting, and you see that what used to make you happy before doesn't make you happy now, including performing well in school. Have you noticed that whenever people have poor mental health, they also have a lot of dishonesty? Yeah. One, they try to explain away things. Number two, they will lie to cover up for what is happening. you notice that when your mental health is compromised because of the issues happening out there, you tend to tell people, I will be fine. No, I was hit long ago, therefore I'm feeling this and that. So there's a lot of dishonesty whenever there is compromised mental health. So I'm going to ask this question. Is poor mental health biblical, or is mental health as a subject quite biblical? Does the Bible have anything to say about this, or is it that we have become so bad that we are not dealing with this? Now, we want to say this, that poor mental health can affect the way you relate with God. Poor mental health can affect the way you relate with the way you relate with God, because it affects one's ability to trust God totally, to take charge of our lives. And every one of us gets to a point where at one time or another, we want to ask God certain questions because bad things have happened to us, which have compromised our mental health. I will give you an example. I lost my mom approximately 6 months ago. And at one point I was asking God, I told you to give my mother another 2 years, another 3 years, so that we can wrap up this business. Are you really there? You know, at that time, the grief was so much that I could not see beyond the fact that God has it all in control. So my ability to trust God totally, to take charge of my life, and to have known why at that time my mother needed to die, you know, though it is not of God to kill, at that time it did not come. Okay, poor mental health weakens our ability to resist temptation. And you have heard of many people who give up and say, now I am going to have fun in hell rather than go to heaven because so and so has hurt me or another, you know. So it's very, very important for us to understand that poor mental health weakens our ability to resist temptation. Another, for example, if you are suffering so much, you might be tempted to drink, to take on some drug so that you feel better, you know. So that temptation to drink or to take a drug to make us feel better makes us to compromise our faith in our God. And then poor mental health invites murmuring and intense emotions. If we go to the Bible, you remember when Elijah had brought down the fire from heaven over the sacrifice, he ran away, and he even forgot that God had brought fire down on a wet wood and a wet animal, you know, despite the fact that he didn't bring fire to the idol worshippers animal. He ran away and he said, now I am the only one left, you know, and now the evil one who wants to kill me, you know. That was kind of murmuring. You remember when the children of Israel were coming from Egypt, and they got to a place where there was high stress. High stress is a manifestation of compromised mental health. They are between a rock and a hard place. Behind them is the Egyptian army. Ahead of them is the Red Sea, and they don't know where to go. Do you know what they did? They remembered that, you know what, Moses, why did you bring us here to die? And God did his best and parted the waters of the Red Sea, and they passed. But murmuring had already taken place. Remember when they said, you know, you would have left us in Egypt to eat of the melons and the garlic and all those things that were there, rather than bring us out here into the desert, So sometimes poverty compromises our poor health. Sometimes lack compromises our health, and it can invite murmuring and intense emotions, which can bring God to be angry with us. Therefore, I want to say this, that mental health is biblical. God understands our mental health and the fact that it can be compromised. So, and you remember, the Bible recognizes low moments in the stories about Moses, about Job. You remember how Moses struggled with the Israelites, how Moses was guilty, because guilt is one of the things that compromises mental health. When he killed the Egyptian man, and he could not stay, he had to run away. Job with all illness, Jonah running away from God, but in a big storm. David, out there being chased by Saul, David, his own son taking over his own family, his own son raping his daughter. What do you think David felt? Elijah, I have just talked about it. Paul, who even would send for, when you come, bring for me that garment, meaning that he was cold. Even weather can compromise our mental health. Jesus at the Garden of Gethsemane, needed someone, to be close to him. And he says, I just left you and you people have gone to sleep. He was sweating blood. That is compromised mental health. So the Bible recognizes those low moments, which can be brought about because of poor mental health. And the Bible and many other verses, there's so many I would talk about. The Bible has a lot of counsel on the low moments in our life brought about because of poor mental health. So Jesus knows our heavy burdens, and he requires us to go to him. He knows that we are going to have compromised mental health, but he has given us the best antidote. And he says, I know that your yoke can be heavy, but bring it to me and I will bear it for you. Okay. So I would love you to be very, every time you are in a low moment, you should know that actually our God knows it and our God understands. And you'll find that in the Bible, there is immense intervention strategies on what to do when you are in low spirits. The psalmist, especially the psalmist, has a lot of psalms that are about crying, but they end up with a lot of hope. I will put my hope in you. The Bible says, as the mountains surround Jerusalem, so shall the Lord camp around about his holy saints. He goes further even in the New Testament to say that, think about these things which are lovely, they are noble, they are worthy to be thought about. So it's very important that you know that mental health is biblical. Especially stable mental health is biblical. God knows that our mental health can be compromised. And in the Bible, he keeps saying, fear not, I am with you. I have good plans for you. If we hang on those hopes, our mental health will be stable. But you cannot say because you are a Christian, your mental health is going to be stable 100%, because the Lord has said that in this world, we will have a lot of trouble. But I have already overcome the world. So he gives us the ultimate best that we can do is hang onto him. So why then is mental health stigmatized? Even in the church, when someone says they are stressed, we hear a lot of people telling us, no, why do you fear? Why worry? There is even a song, don't be a doubting Thomas. Why worry when you can pray? Trust Jesus, he knows the way. Don't be a doubting Thomas, just lean upon his promise. Why worry, 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 worry when you can pray? Well, that is a very good word to help us understand that we shouldn't worry. But we do worry because this world is compromised of all bad things. So mental health is not just about worry. We go through what every human being has to go through. People die, people get sick, people have bad wayward children, people have mental health sicknesses and all that. But I want to say, why is it stigmatized even in church? We are the people who compromise society. And we'll say one reason that I would think of why mental health is stigmatized is because almost all mental health services are dealt with at the psychiatric hospital units. You know, you would rather go to the surgery ward, you would rather go to the orthopedic ward, you'd rather go to maybe any other ward, but not the mental health ward. So people have got this negative feeling about people's minds being sick. But I want to say this, just like your back can get sick, your chest can get sick, your tongue can get sick, your eyes get sick. What tells you that your brain cannot get sick? You know, it's because people think that that is the ultimate sickness that anybody can have. Therefore, no one wants to admit that they are stressed and they are not able to deal with it. No one wants to admit that they are dealing with grief and they need help. No one wants to admit that their child has hurt them to the level where they can't sleep, they can't eat, they can't go out, and they need help. So because when you will say that, probably you will be sent to a psychiatric doctor to give you antidepressants, you know? So mental health services require multiple approaches. That's another reason why it is stigmatized across numerous professionals who are not trained to work together. Let's say the social worker and the psychologist and the psychiatric can work together, all right? But the pastor might not know that he can refer a church member that is stressed to the psychologist. He tries to do it through prayer and even when it means that, you know what, you need to see a psychologist immediately. So the pastor will take on the work of the psychologist, and by the time the person is going to see a psychologist, too much damage has been done, you know? What about marriage? For example, marriage issues. You find that people will go to the auntie, they will go to the uncle, they will go to everybody else. By the time they go to the family therapist to help with this issue, the soup has been cooked by so many cooks that salvaging this relationship will be so difficult. So it is very important to know that the services require specialists, just like any other person. So I would rather go to my uncle to talk about a marriage issue than go to a family therapist. So most of these professionals are not trained to work with one another, but there is also the factor of others who traditionally have that power to help, but they do not have the professional touch. Then there are few mental health service providers. At least like in our church, the Adventist church, there are very few mental health service providers. And it is a service that can be infiltrated by quacks and interventions by non-professionals. Let's imagine that you have a neighborhood counselor who talks to children and they do well, but your child could be having attention deficit disorder. So you go to your neighborhood counselor who will talk to your attention deficit disordered child, and eventually they say, oh, now there is demon possession, so let's take the person for prayer. But this is a thing that can be dealt with at professional level very early. But you wait until you know your child has had issues from when they were 3. You know, you say this one was born different. They were 3 years old and they have had issues until they are at 25. Then you begin to think about taking them to a psychiatric or a psychologist or a social worker, whoever it is. So there are few mental health service providers and very many other people who tend to think that they can do that job. And that is where the problem is. And you would rather go to this neighborhood counselor than be seen to go to a psychologist in the neighborhood. So that's why it is stigmatized. Mental health issues are often considered self-inflicted, and therefore they carry an element of shame. You know, let's imagine, for example, that you have been trying out drugs and the drugs are becoming, they are possessing you now. You used to possess them, but now they are possessing you. So if you go to someone to say, I am taking a drug, that is a very big, difficult step to do because you feel like you are somehow to blame for the condition that you are in. So you stigmatize your own mental health at the issue of not solving it because you feel that you are the one that caused it. So many issues, most of the time, people have them, and if they go to talk about them, they think there is something wrong. Let's imagine, for example, you are the type that maybe has anger issues and you are losing relationships because you get angry or you want to be so controlling. By the way, controlling is also a compromised mental health issue, probably because of your adverse childhood experiences. So you may find that you want to go and tell the people that, you know what, I have a problem. I'm not keeping relationships, but I am the one to blame because I get angry. And therefore, because you are the one who has inflicted it on yourself, you have shame. You stigmatize yourself and therefore cannot look for help. And there is this stigma that is associated with mental illness. You know, you can have compromised mental health, which can lead to mental illness. And there is that genetic factor also. Some people are more vulnerable to mental illness than others. Some people, it runs within families because there is a gene responsible for the ability to get into full-blown mental illness. It tends sometimes to run in families. And traditionally, one of the criteria they would use when they are choosing people to get married is that that family has mental health issues and everybody avoids it, not knowing that there is medication, there is support that can be given to such kind of people. So there's that stigma that is associated with it. And even within church, people do that. That's why people don't seek for mental health services. That's why they have stigmatized all compromised mental health challenges. And rarely do we have anyone addressing mental health challenges within the church. So, and in addition to that, I want to tell you why there is mental health challenges within church members and outside the church member fraternity. One of the oldest researchers on stress and mental health challenges called Ruth Matoya, he died many years back, said that there were biological challenges to mental health, whereby people have hormone imbalances. There are people when they are transiting, especially from childhood to adolescence, some children have their hormones imbalanced. When people are growing older, in their 40s and 50s, hormone imbalances come up. And some people have general hormone imbalances. And you cannot, even the women, every month, your mental health seems a little challenged because your hormones are trying to balance out each other. There's brain chemistry, there's genetics, there is also what do we call it? There is that genetics where you want to, sorry. I'm sorry, a minute, please. Okay. Where you want to deal with the idea that, you know, what is going on in your life? What is this that is happening, you know? And eventually you find out that life is not very good, because you have started to think that, you know, because things are in my family, because things are happening like this, there is an issue going on and on and on in life. So whenever you think about mental health challenges, you need to deal with the causes. And some of these causes are also psychological, like your personality. There are some personalities who are more vulnerable to others. And I think we should discuss about this later. Some people are more feeling, some people are more, they are more judging in the way they do things. And because of who you are, you might be more vulnerable to mental health challenges than others. Some family background and influence also deals with what can I call it, with mental health challenges. Some of these causes, you might find that your family was very, what can I call it? Your family was strict, very, very strict. And they were kind of stifling your way of thinking. They could not allow you to be yourself. And when they don't allow you to be yourself, then you find that you are not in that position to make decisions. You are not in the decision to love yourself the way you should, you know. And eventually you find that you have compromised totally what your mental health is. Sorry, can you hear me? My screen has, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to say some of these causes of mental health challenges are there because of the experiences we have had as children and as people growing in a community, depending on what has gone on in your life. So you will realize that, oh, it's because my mother told me I was stupid most of the time. You know, there was no time that my mother told me that I was a good person in life. And therefore you grow up knowing that you are a bad person, you are stupid, you are unlovable. There are many things that go on in life which compromise our mental health. Now, whenever that happens, we suffer what our people have done to us. Then there is that learned helplessness. The learned helplessness, where you don't have anything to say. You leave everything to fate. And you say, this is us. There is nothing we can do. You know, we are cursed. You know, our parents don't have anything. And we stay there psychologically tortured, unhappy. We have a lot of negative thinking. We have a lot of shame, and we don't want to do anything to get out of it. Then there is that cause which comes because of the social and environmental backgrounds, whereby children and all of us, sometimes we are deprived of warm, ongoing contacts with the significant people in our life, you know. And when this happens, people's mental health gets very compromised. If you grew up in an unloved home, and with due respect, there are some people that were left in other people's hands to be brought up, maybe because your parents died, there was a divorce, and you were given to an auntie, to a stepfather, a step uncle, and they mistreated you. Chances are that your mental health can be highly compromised, and you don't know. Maybe you work so hard. Could we have that muted, please? You find that people, you work so hard, you are such a workaholic because you do not want to go back there. And when you are a workaholic, by the way, you get stressed, you have poor families, and so your mental health becomes a problem again. Then there's constant appreciation and negative feedback from everyone. When your teacher calls you, you're a big head, and then your friends give you a name, you are a tree because you are too tall. There are those significant losses that you have in life. You lose your money, you lose your business, you lose your job. You know, those compromise, they cause mental health challenges. Then there is environments that are not conducive to joy and laughter, okay? Did you know that there are such environments where you don't have to express yourself, especially your positive emotions? You keep quiet, like in prisons, like where you have solitary confinement, people that love living alone, they don't have time to have laughter as often as they want. Yet laughter is the medicine of the soul. Then there can be those cognitive causes whereby how you think about the world, how you think about yourself, and how you think about the future can also cause your mental health challenges. You notice that, you know, whenever there are mental health challenges, then you are going to have to deal with them. So how do you deal with your mental health challenges? That is very, very important, because that is the gist of the matter today. First of all, we need to know that every mental health challenge that is compromised comes up with a symptom. You sometimes have headache, low concentration, you can't sleep, something that is out of the ordinary, some pain somewhere. So any symptom that is causing you distress, any symptom that is causing you distress should be addressed by a professional. And I want to talk to us Adventists. We are known to have the best remedies around, but it is always very important to check out with a professional before you start applying remedies. I remember recently somebody was diagnosed with cancer, for example, and every good herbalist came around, you know, the mental health herbalists, they came around, and they were talking about what to give here, what to give there. It took a whole many months before they would help this person. So even mental health challenges, they do give us a lot of issues because most of the time we are not sleeping. Let us take chamomile tea, yet there's a problem behind that issue. We are having headaches. Oh, this herb can help, but it is okay, the herb can help, but has it addressed the issue that should be addressed? That is a remedy. It is not the solution. So whenever you have any symptoms, especially if you know that you have undergone some of those causes that we said, you have anxiety, you have fear, you have lost a job, someone has died, your girlfriend has left you, your grades are low, when you have all this, please, and then you have that accompanied with symptoms, seek some professional help. Then another thing that you need to do to deal with mental health is to resolve rather than avoid issues, especially those issues of the past. Many of us want to think that when we talk about the past, then we have not forgiven. That is not true. Forgiving is let things be. But sometimes even when you have forgiven, they can hurt us. Therefore, every time that you are dealing with things, especially of the past, deal with forgiveness, but also confront those things and reprocess them and resolve them. Those which are not being resolved, then you know what to do with them. Let them be, let them remain in the past. It will help your mental health to be much, much better. Work on your lifestyle. Sometimes we are more vulnerable to mental health challenges because of our lifestyles. We don't balance our work life, we don't exercise, we don't eat well, we don't drink enough water, we don't get out there and have fun with our friends and family. We are always on the go. So it's very, very important that we learn to work on our lifestyle if we are going to deal with our poor mental health. Another is to be patient, be reasonable, and kind to ourselves. There are things that we cannot resolve, and that is normal. We cannot bring back the dead, one. Sometimes when we have been sick and maimed and we have lost a leg, an eye or something, we cannot undo such things. So let us not let those moments of bad things to define what we can be and what we can do. I know of young men that have been rejected, young women that have been rejected, and they are in mental health units. I want you to know that the moments of rejection, those moments of abuse, those moments of falling short, they will diminish our sense of self. But let us be kind to ourselves. Let us be patient with ourselves, and let us be reasonable with ourselves, because that will help us to stay mentally stable. I would also want us to challenge every negative thought about ourselves. When we look at ourselves, no one of us thinks we are perfectly and wonderfully made, even when God has told us that. Some people think their heads are too big, others their stomachs are too big. So we have put ourselves in a level where we are ashamed, we have low esteem, we are not happy to be with other people because we think that somehow we are deformed in one way or another. But let us challenge that negative thought of ourselves. Is it true that because I walk with a limp, then I am not a complete human being? Probably not. There are very beautiful things about you that you need to look at and celebrate. No wonder they say, count your blessings, okay? So it's important to evaluate all the negative perceptions, attitudes, expectations, and assumptions about ourselves and the people around us. Sometimes people cause our mental health, the environment within us, but it is not true that they will always be out to kill our mental health. they move on with their life, and we continue feeling terrible over something somebody said about you 2 years ago, you know. Then I would want to us to proactively address inactivity, because people that have mental health challenges most of the time want to be alone. They don't want to do anything. They want to sleep. They want to be alone. So let us address inactivity by doing the opposite of what our body tells us when we are experiencing the symptoms. What does our body tell us? Our body tells us to sleep. Our body tells us to hide. Our body tells us to eat, to maybe even to, sometimes it tells us to starve ourselves. So whenever you know you have a mental health challenge, do what your body is not telling you to do. Then do something about your toxic environment by modifying routines. You know, sometimes it is you are using a certain road and there is a lot of jam on that road. Can there be another road that you can use? Maybe you are a teacher, you are in a staff room, and there are certain teachers who make you angry. Can you go somewhere else where you don't have to be angry? Okay, reduce your workload, take breaks when you think you have taken too much, create supportive environments, have your own group of people that can support you whenever you have issues. Okay, then how do we start these mental health conversations at our church? Because our church does not, it deals with the remedies. It does not go deep into the other people's issues. One thing that we must do about mental health so that our church gets sensitized and happy is to dispense accurate information. We are vulnerable to inaccurate information. People misinterpreting the verses, people reading Wikipedia and all that, and they think they're giving us good information. Let us dispense accurate information. And accurate information comes from accurate sources with people that are professionals. So, and also encourage appropriate interventions whenever we think that people are dealing with a lot of mental health issues. If it is stress, let's have stress management techniques. If it is insomnia, let's go to the doctor, but also let us deal with the issue that is causing that insomnia. If it is binge eating, let's address the issue. So let us encourage appropriate interventions for the issues of people. And there is no general issue. There is no general intervention for everybody. Every person has their own way of dealing with that. Let us sensitize the church about various mental health issues. Today, I have not talked about the mental health issues, things like depression that can take a whole day on its own. Things like all other forms of psychosis, we have not talked about that. Things like bipolar depression and all that. We need to have our church being sensitized by professionals, not what we have read online and all that, because that can be very, very compromised. So let us call upon professionals. We have enough of them in our church. Let them tell us exactly what is happening. You know, people say, oh, you are feeling stomachache. You need charcoal because charcoal is the treatment for all the stomach issues. No, it could be because you have had a very difficult boss and the body is the one that keeps the score. And for you, it is the stomach that has kept the score. So let the professionals help us to deal with that. If there are any success cases in our church, please testify about how you have succeeded, so that we can destigmatize these mental health issues on this grand stage called our church. Let us not talk about mental health issues in harsh tones. It is very important that we talk about it. If you have been in such situations, come out, speak about it, tell us what you did. Someone else might understand and refer other people, okay? Then be each other's keepers at church. check on your friends. When someone has kept quiet for so long, they could be having a mental health challenge. And it's very important that we reach out to each other and then come to church and look for the professional and let the professional guide you to where you can be. So I want to stop here and then open the floor for some discussion, some questions. And as people come in with the questions, I would like the person in charge of the chats to bring out exactly what the reactions of the people could be. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we want to thank you for the presentation, and I want to add on to people who want to ask any questions. They can raise their hand, or they can pop the question into the chat box, and I will be letting our auntie know of any feedback.
I have a question that was sent to me beforehand that I want to answer as they talk about it, as they think about the questions. And one of the questions is, how can my childhood traumas affect my future relationships? How can my childhood traumas affect my future relationships? Now, there are many childhood traumas. There could be abuse, both by the people that love and care for you, and also from the outside. Abuse in childhood comes in many ways. Parents that are brutal against their children, teachers that talk about the person's person rather than something they can't control. You have bullying at school. You may have sexual violence against you. There is a lot of childhood trauma that you go through. So what does childhood trauma do to you? It diminishes the way you look at yourself. It confuses the way you look at yourself. It interferes with your decision making. It interferes with the healthy friendship formation. It sometimes when you are abused, you think that that is how human beings are treated in life. I have even heard people saying, oh, if my mother didn't beat me the way she did, I couldn't be who I am today. Well, in the days of ignorance, we did what? We left that beyond there. But while you are going through that beating, a lot of things died within you. One, you got to know that if you don't do well, you are going to be beaten. You might carry this into your relationship, that if people don't hit you with pain, then you don't come out at your best. All right. So sometimes you compromise and like to say no or yes for the sake of no or for the sake of yes. And because of that, even in your relationship, you might be compromising a lot of who you are because you are predisposed to accepting what that was in your childhood. Now, there are some bad experiences, things like sexual abuse. It will compromise your ability to enjoy your sexuality in adulthood. Sometimes you don't know how to communicate because in childhood you are suppressed. As a child, you are supposed to be seen and not to be heard. And you think that when you have grown up, you are going to be heard. And you realize that the society enjoys having people being seen. And therefore you get a boss who is as tough as your father and you continue being seen, not being heard. You are never fulfilled within life. There's a lot of things that I would say, but childhood trauma is a big precursor to what most people have. Sometimes childhood trauma predisposes you to being a violent person. If you saw your mother being beaten every day, you think that is what women are supposed to go through. And you as a woman, you accept a beating here and there because that was the norm and that is how things should be. There is a lot of things that go through. You think that, oh, my father was a big person and he bullied everybody in the village, and you grow up to be a bully. And therefore, even your relationship, somebody is relating to you because you are a bully, you tend not to get satisfied. They just fulfill what you want, or they give you what you want to see and hear. But deep down within them, they are not giving the whole of themselves to you. Okay. And is there any other question that has come?
Yes, there is a question in the chat. Let me read it in your hearing. Teresa Mwoma just said, very informative, Ruth. Many thanks. How can young parents be guided not to make mistakes their parents made that lead to mental health challenges later? Use of negative remarks on their children's ability, comparing children, etc. There is an urgent need for guidance and counseling in our churches and places of working, etc.
Thank you, Teresa, for asking that question. There is a very big neglected service, especially in our church levels, the premarital counseling. Premarital counseling is not about how you'll use money only, or how you will have a good sexual life only. A good premarital counselor picks out such things. For example, how did your parents parent you? And digs deeper and sees that, you know what, you are vulnerable because your parents negatively evaluated you. Therefore, they are guided on how they are going to evaluate their own children. So young people today who are signed in, please don't start premarital counseling 3 months to your wedding. It should be something like maybe 8 or 6 or even a year before, so that if you have unresolved issues to be dealt with, they are dealt with on time. Don't wait until you get married and then you begin to know, oh, my father used to compare me with my sister, and after all, I became who I am today. No, if you do that to your child, times have changed and you may have yourself to blame for so many things. And as Teresa said, there is an urgent need for guidance and counseling in our churches these days so that these things are resolved. So young people need to be guided. Forums have to be formed within church. I want them to take up these services. Another person is asking, is it possible to live an uncompromised mental health given daily life demands, finances, relationships, jobs? Fear tends to lead in all. Thank you for asking that question. That's why I said that all of us are vulnerable to all mental health challenges. But compromised mental health is when we allow these challenges to begin to take over our lives. So it is possible to be uncompromised, but yes, uncompromised, but the challenges will be there and you can intervene before you get compromised. When you are compromised, then you are suffering anxiety, you are suffering panic attacks, you are suffering insomnia, you are suffering disease, you are suffering complete mental breakdown. That one you've gotten to compromised. But when you are at the challenge, your mental health is being challenged, if you intervene at that level, you don't have to descend to your mental health being compromised. I am saying this, that compromised mental health means that you are totally unstable and unable to treat yourself well and to treat other people around you well. So just intervene before you become compromised. That is, be on the lookout. See that today I overworked. What do I do? Okay. Today, my mother said bad things about me. Work at it now. Don't wait until she has said it for the next 6 months, because by then you will get compromised.
Yes, we have a hand with Teresa Mwoma.
Yes.
And then I also have some other questions that have been sent to me on WhatsApp. Probably I'll read them. Some of them you've touched on them, but I'll read all of them if you want, or I'll read each one of them if you wish to.
Okay.
Yeah. Teresa Mwoma, you can ask your question.
Thank you so much for this very important conversation that we are having on mental health. I appreciate the response that Madam Ruth has given and the guidance she has given on pre-marital guidance. For those who go through organized marriage in terms of maybe doing a wedding, yes, pre-marital guidance can really help. But many of our young people, some of them, they just come, we stay. And they have high expectations of maybe imagined or the kind of life they see, I don't know where, and they come together. They are blessed with babies, and we have seen babies who are strangled, killed, or partners killing each other. And I want to believe because they just come and stay. They did not have that premarital guidance. When these mental health challenges comes, then they end up doing things that we are seeing. So I'm wondering how best we can reach the wider population of those who do not come, who do not get married in an organized manner, that they can be able to be guided. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like us to think about a wider way of doing it as a church. We have done a lot of talking. We have family life seminars. We have all that, but I hardly hear anything mental health in family life. And so it should be incorporated into family life services. But also now as a church, we need to have forums, intentionally go into forums where we can actually educate people on what to do. Another forum would be through our literature. We have a lot of literature that we can distribute to people. Now that people have gone digital, we can have digital literature where we educate people deliberately. And we can subscribe to channels which talk to this and just place information everywhere, even at places of work. I've worked for an institution where I was a guidance counselor for the institution. And I thought that most people were not accessing this information. You know what I did? I knew a place where everybody visits. So I knew that everyone at one point or another will visit a bathroom, you know? So I wrote pamphlets on different issues every other week and posted them there. And you know, the response was overwhelming. So it wasn't just the Adventist kids that came, but everyone will say, I read this way. Can I see you? I did this. So let's be very creative in where we place this information for everyone out there, not just our church youth, but everyone out there to get some info about mental health challenges and how to deal with them. There are things with early childhood experiences, bullying, work stress, relationships at home, sibling rivalry, and all these things. If we had a way of distributing this information, it would be met by so many. Thank you, Teresa. We'll still keep researching also. and knowing what our people need and satisfying them. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the questions each, or read them all together and then?
Read them all together. I will jot them down and answer them because some of them are connected. Yeah.
Okay, let me read them, then probably we can see which ones to focus on. The first question is, the heading is mental health and how it affects relationships. The question number one, how can young people deal with depression from either family issues or friendships and more? Question number two, when your parents say no to your relationship, it can be heartbreaking, especially if don't agree with their reasons. How do you handle this mental health torture? Question number three, how does issues in your past childhood trauma affect your future relationship, or does it? How to start a new relationship without healing from heartbreak and the trauma caused by ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. Question number four, how can one change from pessimism to optimism, or how can you implement good thoughts within you?
Okay.
And the other question, I think it is he put two times, so it's a fifth question. To what extent does mental health depression affect one's relationship with God? Okay. Then the other question, the last two questions are, what are some examples in the Bible of therapy and counseling? And the last one is, how do you help children who might be getting depressed due to the situation in the family, dad and mom situations?
Okay, those are different seminars on their own. Yeah, because they are very, very, very big things. But I want to say this, dealing with depression from family issues. I think that was like the first question. Dealing with depression, especially with the family issues. Now, if you are a young person and there are a lot of family issues within your home, you are right in the middle of mental health challenges, and you can be stressed, you can be angry, you can have out all of those symptoms coming out. Go for help on your own. At the end of my presentation, I gave ideas on how to deal with mental health challenges, but depression as on its own is a general presentation. It's a big thing to talk about. Depression means that you have reached the bottom of the hole. And when you look up, the possibility of being helped is very, very low. You know, it's compromised. You don't have the energy to come up. So number one is to reach out, because you need somebody to lift you out of that deep hole. And you reach out to people that bring sunshine, because your hole is dark, to bring a little sunshine into your life. Number two is to also know that whatever is in the family, probably you are not the cause, okay? You are not the one sustaining the issue. It could be the people that are stronger than you in that relationship that are causing a lot of issues. And knowing that you are not the cause is very, very important. But that gives you a little hedge, because then you can get yourself out and let those that are the cause deal with it. And number two is also to know that you don't have to be directly responsible for what other people have caused, even when they pull you into it. You need to draw a boundary wall around yourself to protect you from being swallowed into the toxicity of the family. And you know, when things are so bad, like when people had COVID for the first time, they had to be isolated so that it doesn't go to everyone else in the community. So isolating yourself from the family can be a good thing if you are not fully dependent on them. But you must also look inside you. What do you have that can keep you going so that your family does not take you with it. The current of the problems in the family don't take you with it. You can have both external resources and internal resources. And one of the internal resources is your resolve. How much you can tell your mind that you are not going to be part of this issue. So your resolve is one, your hope is another, your faith is another, though when you are depressed, the faith has been compromised. So look inside you and look for what you can use to survive as your family deals with what is happening. So when it comes to issues of depression and because of family issues, your internal control are better than your external control, because family can manipulate the externals. They will tell you, oh, we'll disinherit you, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. But if you guard yourself, you will be able to overcome. I wish I would talk more because it's a big topic about dealing with depression from family issues. When parents say no to your family, to your relationship, what should you do, especially if their issues are not, their reasons are not very good reasons? Number one, when I last checked, usually when you are an adult, except in few countries, no one gives consent for the two of you to be married. You invite the others. If you know that you have done it right, you are clear, go to the people that are wise around you and talk to them about what your parents are saying. And if the wise people around you, and all of us are very wise people, if the wise people around you think that you are right and they can support you, then go ahead and have your relationship continuing. I also want you to also stand in the side of the parents. Most of the time when parents say no, they might be seeing something that you may not be seeing. Sit down with them without your defenses. Most of the time we listen to our parents with our defenses very high. So whenever they are talking, our defenses are high. Please be open, listen to them. What you think could be a reason that is not carrying any water in it might begin to make sense. So I am for the advocate for the devil, your parent. Listen to them, ask other people to talk to them. And if you agree with another person and another that really your parents don't have a reason, then you can go ahead. But if people are going to join your parents in raising their reason to you or explaining to you, then take your time. Maybe it will come to pass. So do not entirely dismiss your parents, but also exercise wisdom where you can. Ask other people that you think are wise, that are not, biased, to talk with you and reason out what is happening. So it's very important that you do that. Then how do you start over? You start again when you have been rejected, because it can be really hurting. I will say this: rejection is your friend. I want you to know that from today. And rejection should make you a stronger person. Remember the verse that says love is not forced. You don't force yourself onto somebody, and even if you love them how much and they don't want to be loved by you, even God, when we reject him with all the love that he has, he lets us make our choices. And we can reject God and it's okay. God gets hurt. When you are rejected, it is not okay. No, I want you to know that being rejected rejection is your friend. Don't use it to define who you are henceforth. In fact, look at it as an opportunity to do something better than you had done before. Well, it leaves a wound, and I am not negating that. There is a wound because you put in your emotions, you put in your best foot forward, and no one, that person did not appreciate it. That's a very painful thing to go through. But remember that you can heal. You can always heal of any rejection. Use it as a stepping stone to be a better person, a stepping stone to know that maybe what they are complaining about you is your area of weakness, which you are going to work on so that you are a better person for the next relationship. If you continue dwelling on how you have been hurt, on how you have been rejected, chances are you might not rectify anything that the other person has complained about. Sometimes they don't have a reason, and it's still okay. Remember that rejection is your friend. It's tossing you to a better person. Go back on your knees, ask God to make you a better person and to bring you a better person. And also to the drawing board to see where you made mistakes and what could have gone wrong, and right those wrongs so that you get a better person into your life. And remember that it's better to be rejected before you get married than after you get married, because the dynamics are bigger after you get married. I think I talked something about childhood traumas, and I don't want to say so much. What about the children that are depressed due to the situations in their families? Children are usually helpless. They don't know what to do, and they cannot get out of those situations because they are fully dependent on their fathers and mothers, who unfortunately have not realized that they hurt their children because of what is happening. As a church, I would like us to be more sensitive to those children, not for gossip purposes, but for love and for care and for encouragement, so that those children know that they have somewhere else they can hang on to. So each of us, as I said, should be each other's keeper. So if you know that your neighbor, your church member is having fights with his wife, and there's a lot of pain in that family, when it comes to them, maybe they are able to come to church, show extra love, show concern. If they're adolescents, take time to talk to them, and don't pretend that you don't know. Because when you pretend that you don't know, then you are cutting yourself away from helping. If you take aside an adolescent and say, I know what you are going through, I have had this, and I am praying for you, that's enough to help a child move on for another week. If they are younger, there are mechanisms given by government. So we are Christians, and we have government that can help. Let's imagine the children are in a very abusive home where the parents are beating each other, they are hitting each other, but they are good providers. Remember that when children grow in a violent environment, they get damaged almost forever if no intervention is done. Let's use the available mechanisms to protect those children from the toxic parents that they are living with. And if possible, if they are bigger, older, younger people, then form support systems for them as a church group, so that they have somewhere where they can always help themselves from. I think that is all. Do I have any other?
Yeah, I think Uncle William wanted to ask a question. Is Uncle William around? Uncle William? I don't know whether he's still around. If not, probably we can be winding up.
Okay.
I think we can be winding up in that sense, and then we can invite Elder Sam to give us any closing remarks.